Hey, this is Terry Bean with another interesting episode of Business Growth Time. Today, we're going to talk about the power of Pinterest and what you may be missing out on. We don't have a special guest. We've got our normal co-host we're always excited to be with, Janet E. Johnson, where today the E stands for East Side, just because it's funny to me and I like saying East Side. So what's going on, East Side? I don't know. In Detroit, we have the East Side and the West Side, and it's like the Jets versus the Sharks, and so it has no relevance to you in the Twin Cities. But St. Paul versus Minneapolis.
Yeah, you know what? Here, let's go back to high school.
Yeah.
In West.
East
we
and
were
West.
Prestigious West Bloomington, remember?
East side, right? And nobody wanted to be on the East Side, so I'm sorry. I should have totally not done that to you. But it was the E that came to my mind. What can I tell you?
East. Okay. Well, we're gonna head east and talk about Pinterest.
Right, because Instagram might be the West Side, and then Pinterest is the East Side. I don't even know.
The analogies, they're great.
That's totally made up and mostly useless. So thank you.
Well, and maybe you were East yesterday. How was your, talk a little bit about TEDx for a minute. TEDx Detroit, you had a couple thousand people, you said.
We had, I think close to 2,500 is the number we're going with, and it was phenomenal. We're in the beautiful Fox Theater, which is a historic landmark in the city of Detroit, and major acts from all times have played there. But we had, maybe 4 musical performances. We had a magician. We had an artist that was in residence that started a canvas painting in the beginning of the day and finished it by the end, which was gorgeous. We had belly dancers, which was a trip.
I saw that.
We had another set of belly dancers later. So we had one single belly dancer doing her belly dance thing, and then another group of...
Is that like a Detroit thing, or?
I didn't know it was, but maybe. We have a huge influx of people from the Middle East. There's a city in the Detroit area called Dearborn, which Dearborn has the single largest Arabic community outside of the Middle East. And so that could be very, very common. There's a lot of people from Armenia, or Armenians. Armenia, is that a country? I don't think I'm saying that right, but I'm going to stop talking about that right now. So there was a lot of different stuff going on, and it was a true festival. And for me, I got to hang out with the 3 mascots, Paws, who's the Tigers mascot, and Rory, who's from the Detroit Lions, and Hooper, who's from the Detroit Pistons. And we had 6 or 7 different photographers working that day. And I'm pretty sure that I got the single best photo. I got those 3.
Saw that.
Walking across Woodward, which is the biggest street in Detroit, like they were Abbey Road from the Beatles, like the cover of Abbey Road. And in the background is the marquee that said TEDx Detroit on the Fox Theater. People were like, oh my God, I'm making this into a poster and I'm hanging on my wall.
Nice. So, well, we'll have to put that in the show notes.
Then. We'll have to put it in the show notes because
we'll know what you're talking about. It
was pretty sweet. Yeah, because nice. Way to go. Way to bring up a nice visual thing on an auditory podcast. Thanks. Let me paint you a picture with my words, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, hey, I haven't been there. So, it makes, I saw the picture too, but I have never been there. So it makes a lot of sense to, show people what Detroit's all about.
That's what's up in the D. So it was cool. And we'll probably do an episode on that in the next week or two and kind of a recap. But candidly, I didn't see that much of the show. Busy. I have a pedometer on my phone. S Health for Galaxy has a S Health app. Yeah. And I think it was the single most steps I've had in a day. Well, I know it was since last year at this event. So it was crazy. I walked, 7 or 8 miles yesterday, mostly just inside one building. So it was.
You didn't sit down much. Yeah, exactly.
No. So that was cool. But enough about that. Let's talk about Pinterest, the overly girly website.
So you think.
So I think. I know. There's all kinds of practical applications, but I don't know.
Well, actually, I read a stat recently that the growth of men on Pinterest is happening. So there is definitely more growth with the male users happening. It still is Predominantly women. I would say the last stat I looked at, it was approximately 70% women.
Okay.
30% men. So there is men on there, but if your target market is women, and I will be giving you 3 different company examples, but if your target market is women, you definitely want to be there. But, you need to think about what your product is, and, maybe you think it's men, but it could be women. I mean, a decking company is one I'm working with, and they're, the women in the family are making the decisions over them more than the men are in the household. So the women are still going to want to see these deck pictures, even though you might think it's men. A golf cart company that I work with, the golf carts, I mean, what would you think about golf? Men. Oh, no, I mean, this is done very well with both targets. So make sure that you think, deep about it before you say no to Pinterest. So that's something I would start with.
That makes good sense, right? And I totally agree. From a home improvement decision making, that's a woman driving that for the majority of it. Because most men I know would be like, you know what? There's a cardboard box that's going to keep me dry. I'm good, right? I don't want to invest in rebuilding the deck right now because I want to be playing golf, or I want to be on the boat, or I want to be doing something that's fun, as opposed to, oh, good, look, the deck looks nice. I can barely tell that it was done.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And my husband's in the construction industry, and he has sat down with many homeowners over the years, and the majority of the time it's the woman that at least is helping in the decision making. He likes to have both there typically, just to, make sure, because it is typically a lot of times the women. So make sure that that's one industry to think about. And then the other one I'm going to give us example of is jewelry. So that's a pretty obvious one. That makes a lot of sense, but it could go, men and women too.
So basically you're saying Pinterest is more than saving pictures of food that you like that have recipes on them?
Yes.
Or vacations you want to take?
Obviously all that's great, and it happens there. For sure it does. It is a search engine. So let's just talk about that, what it is. It is definitely a brand awareness platform where you get a lot of impressions reach. You can reach a lot of people with your product through Pinterest. And I will be going through the stats, but the jewelry company actually reaches more organically with their Pinterest than they do with their entire Facebook of 40,000 fans. And we have a pretty decent budget on Facebook, and Pinterest beats all that.
Really? That's fascinating. I'd like to dive into that now. Can we? Because I mean, that's a big statement, right? How many followers are they? Followers on Pinterest? What are they? Friends?
And I'm talking about impressions.
Okay.
So basically, what an impression is how many times something shows up. Your brand would show up in front of people. Now, this is not our end all goal of our business, but you got to think of a magazine. This jewelry company came from the magazine world. So look at how much they pay for a page in a magazine, and you pass, that page hits, that's an impression. They looked and saw that ad. That's an impression. Okay. So the comparison is this page, this jeweler, actually, as of September, we had 673,590 impressions in 1 month.
In 1 month?
In 1 month.
That's huge.
673,000. So that's kind of showing, for impressions wise, I would look at that as the brand awareness.
And so
brand awareness.
To frame that up, obviously you didn't have that in your first month. What did that growth curve look like, and how did that?
Well, nobody can see us, but it went straight up, and it's still going up to month after month after month. We started 1 year ago. Growth in that company we started at 750, just 750.
Okay.
Impressions 1 year ago.
So in 12-month time, you went from 750 to almost 675,000.
Yeah, so like thousands of percent.
Yeah. I think that's a metric shit ton. I think that's the exact
Yes,
marketing
there you
term.
go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
And to make it smaller, let's talk about the deck railing company. The deck railing company I've been working with only 3 months. We've actually only focused on Pinterest for 2 months. And in that, since from July, they were at 341 impressions. And in September, they're at 10,199 impressions.
Wow.
So now I have no doubt if we continue doing the same thing as the jewelry company, we'll be at that hundreds of thousands within 1 year. It just is a continued growth as long as we keep doing the same things we're doing.
So you mentioned Pinterest is like a search engine, or you didn't say like, you said is. So I go to Pinterest right now, I see the little magnifying glass up top somewhere, and I can type in deck railing, and then if you're winning that game for your client, I will see pictures from your client?
You got it. Yep.
Okay.
Completely keyword driven. So the golf company that I work with is actually a Minnesota-based company. So I put Minnesota in the terms every single time. And then it goes deeper than that too, but just talking the keywords. So let's just say I did something about golf, not necessarily a golf cart, but golf and in Minnesota. So I'd make sure I had those keywords, golf, Minnesota, and then have additional words. But, whatever you want to be found for, make sure you have those terms.
Interesting. And is it like Instagram where you're doing hashtag keyword, or is it?
Great question. No.
Okay.
No hashtags.
No hashtags.
Pinterest is not hashtag friendly.
Not hashtag friendly. So not only do you not do it, it's almost like frowned upon. They don't like it.
It just looks dumb, and it's just not necessary. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, so how many keywords do you put, or does it depend on how many you're trying to control?
Yeah, obviously it's kind of like Google, where long tail keywords are always going to be more beneficial.
Okay.
And to explain that, long tail means a little bit longer, put a little more detail in it. So instead of deck, we would have deck railing Minnesota, or we would have black deck railing Minnesota, or you could make it longer and longer. The more specific you can be, the more likely you are to be found.
And again, just like other search engines, you want to think about it from the perspective of what your customer is going to type into that search bar, right? So you want to think about it from a customer's perspective, not necessarily from your industry perspective or your business perspective. Because what I've noticed, and I see this a lot in business, we get our own little acronyms, we get our own little special phrases and our special words that we talk about inside of our company or inside of our industry. But those words may not mean anything to our customers. Yeah. We used to, in marketing, the phrase was identity. That was a huge phrase. And identity basically meant your logo, right? And your tagline. But nobody was calling saying, hey, I need you to design my identity. They were calling saying, I need you to design a logo. So you've got to speak to your customer base, right? And you should speak to your industry and your team so they know you know what you're talking about. But who are we really trying to sell to? So make sure you're communicating. In both languages. Exactly.
I completely agree. Well, and Pinterest narrows it down really well. So if you put in the word deck, it would have a bunch of sub choices below it, like, fall 2016. I mean, I do a lot with fashion, for instance. So they'll say, spring fashion, fall fashion, they'll give you a whole bunch of options to narrow it down. So the more you can narrow it down with your keywords, they're going to put it into the right categories.
I never thought about fashion decks. That's very fancy. I think this deck is wearing Vera Wang. I think it's absolutely lovely.
It's two different things.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
I suppose decks can be fashionable, but
it's look at all the spring colors. Can't wait for the fall catalog.
Exactly. You never know. Good. Yeah. Right. So I do want to talk more though about so we love impressions. And that's great and fine and dandy. I'm not one to finish there. That's not the finish line. That's just that's the overall. Now we got to break that down.
That's the awareness, right?
It's the awareness piece. Yeah. So we want to get down to what else does it do? It does create a lot of engagement.
Okay.
Does not create a lot of likes, for instance. So many people, you get found whether your page has been followed by somebody or not. So what happens is the people will share your pins, they will like your pins, they may even comment on your pins. It's not as much commenting going on Pinterest as the other platforms, but a lot of little hearts and then the shares in repinning and saving on their board. But they can do all that without even liking your profile.
So they don't have to be let's call it a fan of your page or a follower of your page.
Exactly.
It's a wide open network.
Yeah. So it isn't about that. I don't stress on that side of things, building the likes, that kind of thing, because it just isn't as important. I mean, obviously you'll show up in the feed of people more likely if you have been followed. That's who shows up in the feed if people scroll through. But, people are searching constantly on Pinterest, so it's not a end all. So for traffic engagement, what that means is people are either liking, a little heart, there's a little heart on there, or they are sharing it over to their boards and saving it as a pin. So then it's always going to be on their stuff. So they put it, let's say they have a fashion board. Well, they saw ours and they liked one of our pins, so they shared it and saved it onto their board. That is what the engagement is. And you know what? That grows along with the reach. The jewelry company went from 0 a year ago, 0 shares, none at all. And this last month, it was 506,340.
What?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of shares, a lot of, you got to, and, that will almost take a whole another show, explaining how to delve into doing this stuff. But it's, you got to create good content and be consistent. That's bottom line.
So give us an example of what good content is. And you've gone out of your way to not mention the jewelry company. Are you doing that intentionally because they're not paying to be a part of the show, or is it some big secret? Or
no, it's not at all. I just don't have permission at this point. So I've never gotten permission, but it's not a big deal. But
fair enough.
One of these days I will be getting permission, but I just haven't needed it.
No sense in rushing into that. Because they could be like, oh man, we might be driving traffic to them right now if we were telling people who they are.
I know. One of these days, like I said, I'm writing a book too, and I probably would like to include them if they want to be. So
cool. So all right, so let's talk about like that. I always talk about the content matrix when I'm talking to clients about how to populate their social media, that I think you have to mix up. You can't just be like, hey, buy our jewelry product, because nobody cares after the third time you say that. So you've got to have different conversations and different types of content that really are going to drive that awareness, and people are going to be like, oh, that's cool. So can you give a couple of examples of what that looks like?
Yeah, well, we do a lot with sharing other people's content.
Okay.
And then we share our own content too. You need a good mix. And some brands and some companies have enough of their own content to just stick with their own, but that's a lot because we are doing approximately 15, 20 pins a day.
Holy cow.
So it's easier than you'd think, but a lot of it is other people's content that we're resharing, beautiful jewelry and different fashion of 2016. We have multiple boards, this goes pretty deep, but it's, other people's content. And then we create our own with graphics that are very detailed for every blog post we do. Infographics work really well. We have a jewelry cleaning infographic every month, and contests we've run. So the jewelry beautiful contest that actually had the most interaction in September was the contest, because people has the most interaction no matter what site we're on.
People like to win things.
Yeah, exactly. But it also was gorgeous, so it was, you want shareable content, think about what your audience wants and needs and then put it out there. So it's not always our brand. It's not always just our stuff on Pinterest. So there's a lot of other sharing going on. Whereas Instagram, and this is not an Instagram Pinterest show, but Instagram is more just pretty much your own content.
Well, yeah, and it's really, you can't even, unless you want to share it to individual people that are following you. Instagram doesn't make it easy for you to share just like into your vast network. You have to be very specific. And if you want an Instagram versus Pinterest show, you could look that up on Business Growth Time, because we've done that show already.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice to tie back. You like how I did that?
Exactly.
So, well, let me ask you this, because when you're sharing other people's content, do you find that the folks that are managing those brands, the content you're sharing, are they more apt or more likely to share yours because you're helping them spread the word and they want to help you spread the word too?
Yep. And and some people will even come along and like your post because of that company, because you shared their stuff.
Okay.
So I noticed Fossil is really good about that.
Interesting.
Fossil, the big watch company, and they typically, whenever we share, somebody comes in and likes that post, says, kind of like a thank you type thing. So yes, I have, and you can partner, you can do share boards and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, that goes pretty deep. But I do think that it does help to, share other people's content, but it is not, that's not going to help drive the traffic to your site. So just always remember to do a mix, because it's super important to share your own content with the links back to your site, making sure that it goes back to your site, because typically any company that I've ever worked with, that, and including my own, which I didn't even do a lot with Pinterest on my own stuff, it ends up being one of the top social network traffic drivers out there for the site, even if you do minimal amount of work. So this company gets it's at about 200 to 300 clicks per month to their site. But we just merged the blog with the website, so it was a little bit different. It's kind of a different type of thing. I don't know how to explain it, but now our numbers will go up because we merged them.
Got it.
So
because you're driving to one spot as opposed to multiple spots, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that makes it a lot easier.
Yep.
Wow, that's fascinating. And I've heard that like Pinterest, as far as a referring site for certain businesses, ends up being number 1 or 2, right? And I mean, like crushing like LinkedIn or Facebook. Facebook's normally in the top 2, but
it is.
Instagram or Twitter. I remember when Pinterest passed in Twitter, people were like, wait, what? But so, and you've got 3 very disparate types of businesses: a deck railing company, a jewelry company, and a golf cart company. But they all have something in common, right? They're good visually, right? So it's almost like for a product company that people have to see something, it's good. But I mean, like if you're an IT company, right? We had Tom Lawrence on talking about video the other day, and Tom fixes computers, right? Or sets up computer networks. He does wiring and cabling, which you can show off how pretty and nice the lines are. But for the most part, it's not like, hey, let me
You're wrong.
up the computers. Really?
So, You're wrong. Well, I'll tell you why, because they take pictures and videos.
Okay.
And he has so much video content. He can put those videos on there and drive the traffic back to, his website too. Or drive it to the YouTube channel. It's a great way to build traffic to a YouTube channel. Obviously, we're going to start doing that. But you can pin your YouTube videos from YouTube and drive the traffic to your channel. So if they click on it, the click-through will go to your YouTube channel.
No kidding. So does it actually show the video, or does it just show the thumbnail or the image of the video?
Thumbnail, but you can play it right in there. But yeah, it's the thumbnail of it. So you want to have a decent thumbnail that says what it is, obviously. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can play video on Pinterest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, fascinating. I did not know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, for his business, he's creative enough where he could come up with some, you could do an infographic on, the steps to doing computer, blah, 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 blah. I don't even know, exactly what he does, but, you can make it detailed.
He does computer, blah, blah, blah. I think he knows.
That's basically.
Basically, and I think he'd tell you the same.
Yeah, so that that's a great way to do it. Our type of business doesn't have a lot of, it's not a visual business necessarily, but many marketers are very successful with Pinterest just because you got to get creative. I've done a lot of infographics. Dentist, orthodontist, they still are my top shared after 4 years, their infographics. I think we're going on 5 years now, and I still have those in my top shares after 5 years.
No kidding.
For a dentist. I mean,
so
any company, really, you just got to get creative, and you got to have great images, and you got to be consistent.
Well, in 15 to 20 posts a day, that's a ton. Is that the right frequency, or does it depend on the business?
I have a secret with that. So it is dependent on, and I'll tell you my little secret, but I think it's worth almost a whole show. And actually we could get the owner of the company on. Yeah. Tailwind app is what it's called. And we will put it in the show notes. Tailwind app finds the best times to post according to your audience. And they have a scheduler, and you can pin out to multiple boards and schedule it out and split it by 3 days. So you could do one post and you have it on 10 different boards, split up every 3 days it goes out. I mean, it's just wild. I wouldn't live without that product. So it's Tailwind app. That helps a lot.
And that's only for Pinterest, though. They don't do that for other sites?
Just for Pinterest. They are possibly adding Instagram. I haven't heard the latest on that. I don't know how they're going to add Instagram because Instagram blocks everything, but they were integrating something with Instagram at one point. So it would be cool to have him on the show because it's a great product. I love it. Or you could just hire us, and I know for a fact that's one product or one platform that no matter what, I can document for any business.
Well, and I'll tell you what, everybody wants proof, right? Mm-hmm. They're always about proof. So the idea that you can show them that, the old joke in marketing is 50% of my marketing doesn't work, but I just don't know which 50%.
There it is.
Yeah, right? So the fact that you can actually document and show that kind of definitive proof is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. All right, so aside from Tailwind app, which sounds like a really good tip, what's one action step that our listeners could take right now to kick a little more butt in the world of Pinterest?
Yeah, okay. So here's the simple. Start a page. Go set it up, fill out the information on Pinterest, create 10 different boards that would interest your audience. So for instance, for the golf cart company, we have Minnesota sports, we have summer fun, we have golf carts, we have golf, we have camping, because a lot of their people that buy the golf carts own RVs. We have an RV one. We have
cottage life.
Many different ones. So create 10 around your audience. It does not have to pertain to and you know what? I usually, when I set up somebody's, I do one that says that type of product. So ultimate golf cart, website, or, their product specific. So have a couple that are very specific to your product, and then just do the other ones separately, and then add 10 images to each board or videos. So 10 and 10 is a good way to get started on Pinterest.
Interesting.
That's your first phase.
And then go from there.
Mm-hmm. You got it. Now, I do want to...
Is your page live the moment you set it up? So as you're adding those 10 boards and those 10 photos, people are able to see them?
Yeah, but you can do secret boards. So what I usually do is I make sure that I set up my boards as a secret board, and then I have 5+ pins before, pictures on it before I launch and make them live.
Cool.
So that's kind of how you could do secret boards. And I have secret boards that nobody sees. Like when I'm saving, cabbage diet recipe things or whatever, and I don't feel like telling the world, which I just did.
People are going to be sending you cabbage diet recipes all the time now. My wife has a stack of giraffe stuff, right? So all kinds of wood sculptures and just giraffe pictures and giraffe everything, because one day she said she liked giraffes. Next thing you know, every time someone thinks about giving her a gift, it's a giraffe. So
that's great.
You're now the queen of cabbage diet. Enjoy.
I'll be targeted for that just for saying it.
Coleslaw.
That's great. Speaking of, well, making me hungry. All right, so here is my offer for you. I do have, right now, I'm giving away an audit checklist to Facebook. And this is just a checklist of 14 points a Facebook page must have. If you grab that, we have an upsell in there that has 7 checklists for the different social media sites, and one of those is Pinterest. So if you're interested, it's $9, but the way to get there is janetjohnson.com/FB audit checklist. And this will be in the show notes too, but it's janetjohnson.com/FB audit checklist. So you would get the Facebook one for free. And the only other way to get the Pinterest one at this point is by signing up for the Facebook one, and then you purchase it for $9. So
Sweet. Look at you. That's very, very cool. We've done 65 shows. That might be the first official offer we've ever done. Congratulations. Very happy for you. All right. So
the $9. Woo!
Yeah. Way to cash in. Really taking advantage of the people here. All right. In all seriousness, you can connect with us by going to businessgrowthtime.com. As I mentioned, we've got over 60 other episodes. We've interviewed some fantastic guests. Most of our stuff is all around the idea of helping you grow your business. So we talk networking and social media apps and a little bit of sales and some management. And so we've got some good stuff there for you. We've also got a wonderful Facebook group that you can go check out. You can search it at Business Growth Time inside of the Facebook app, or we actually have a new fancy website link that will drive you directly to it, but I don't know what that is. So Janet's going to have to fill you in there.
It's businessgrowthtime.xyz.
Business.
I want to say
.xyz. Forget about that .com. That's so.
We're just going to be XYZers here.
Forget about the ABCs. We're all about getting you to the finish line where the XYZs live. That's what's up. So that's us, right? Anything else they need to know?
No, that's it. That's it. Join our group, interact. We love having you, and definitely subscribe. If you're an iTunes user, subscribe. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review too. And even if you're a Stitcher user, you can subscribe there also.
Even if you're a Stitcher user, go Droid. All right, Janet E. Johnson, very nice show, Eastside. And we'll look forward to chatting with you real soon. Have a great day.
Thanks.